From your local election headquarters, here's Fred Childers with This Week in Louisiana Politics.
Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Fred Childers. Thanks for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics on your local election headquarters. Let's get started. Governor Jeff Landry is seeking a federal emergency disaster declaration to assist with recovery efforts in areas impacted by Hurricane Beryl. Landry has been in contact with FEMA and the White House about the state's request and is hopeful it will be approved. The disaster declaration request includes two different categories. A, allows parishes to be reimbursed for removing debris or allows the parishes to be supported directly with that work. And B, covers any potential sheltering or evacuation costs. Landry released a statement saying, quote, "Our office will continue to work with our local, state, and federal partners to ensure those hard-hit parishes are able to have a full recovery," end quote. Louisiana ranks high on the list for most expensive auto and homeowner insurance premiums. While bills are passed each year trying to help with the issue, lawmakers are trying to take a deeper dive into what needs to be done. Capitol reporter Shannon Hecht brings us insight into this search.
Today was the first of what they hope is many meetings where lawmakers can sit down and take a full step back and take a closer look at auto insurance and the reasons why Louisiana has such high rates. Louisiana ranks as the worst for the cost of car insurance premiums according to Bankrate. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are at odds over why that is, from having bad roads to lawsuits or low liability coverage.
Try to identify all of the factors that are driving these costs so that we can come up with some solutions.
Over 30 bills were passed in the regular legislative session aimed at property insurance. Some did away with policies that no other state uses, such as the 3-year rule.
This whole narrative about us being an outlier as the primary motivation or rationale as to why we should pass a piece of legislation or why we should repeal a law, to me, has been a flawed approach.
Legislators were passionate in the hours-long meeting that kicked off their fact-finding mission. Speaker of the House, Philip de Villiers, says that he hopes that they can come to agreements for future legislation.
I think we're a long ways of calling ourselves into a special session to try to bring more insurance reforms, unfortunately. Having the meetings that we're seeing today, just getting started, we would like to put forth a package of bills in a session to try to address the auto insurance premium rate.
De Villiers says that he also wants the new laws passed this year to take time to go into effect to see how it changes things. The Speaker tells me that they hope to have several more meetings before the next legislative session. At the Capitol for your local election headquarters, I'm Shannon Hecht.
And Louisiana lawmakers are looking to the Department of Transportation for ways to improve transparency for some road projects. The House Transportation Committee asked the DOTD Secretary to break down where extra funds from the legislative session are being spent. They also want to have better communication of where projects are in the construction process. DOTD is also collecting a survey from elected officials on things they would like to see implemented as part of their master plan.
They see this, and this is what they relate their tax dollars to. They relate it to poor roads. They relate it to tall grass. They relate it to poor drainage. If we're going to change the perception when you cross the state line from Texas and Arkansas and Mississippi that Louisiana is a good fundamental state, it's going to start with your agency.
Now, the legislature also only renewed the department for 1 year to potentially make changes next year. A new law in Louisiana aims to hold electronic monitoring companies accountable if they fail to keep track of an offender. Jordan Lippincott brings us the latest on a developing case.
Jill Dennis, the director of the privately owned Assured Supervision Accountability Program, which provides ankle monitors, made several visits to the state capitol earlier this year. Dennis had learned it wasn't illegal if an electronic monitoring company failed to track a client wearing an ankle monitor. But now a new law aims to change that.
It requires the clerk of court to put who's monitoring that individual and their contact information in the docket. And it requires that GPS providers report all violations of strap tampers, exclusions, low batteries, and comm losses to the court within 24 hours.
In the story of failed ankle monitors, our story was probably better than most.
Elizabeth Hansard says she was contacted by the ASAP staff when authorities say 20-year-old Tata Say cut off his ankle monitor. Say is one of the suspects accused of shooting and paralyzing her son Noah last year, a now 25-year-old UNO student. Hansard supports the new law, saying an electronic monitoring company also carries the burden to protect victims.
The courts are deciding that certain people should be eligible, and we're putting them into these programs. So now these companies are literally holding the lives of the citizens.
Hansard also says not to wait to become a victim before fighting for accountability.
Look at your elections, in particular your judges, and understand what they represent and demand that our laws be enforced.